Have you ever walked into someone's home and felt your shoulders drop, your breathing slow down, and your whole body relax? Not because the place was expensive or fancy, but because everything was calm, clean, and exactly where it belonged. As if the house itself was whispering, "You're safe here. Sit down. Stay a while." My name is Arthur Bennett. I'm 68 years old, a widower, and a father of 2 grown sons. And until about a year ago, I had completely forgotten what a peaceful home felt like. When my wife Margaret passed away 4 years ago, something inside me just stopped working. Not dramatically, quietly. I stopped putting things away. I stopped wiping the counter after dinner. I stopped caring whether the mail piled up on the table, or whether yesterday's coffee cup was still sitting on the nightstand. My home didn't become a disaster overnight. It happened slowly, the way fog rolls in. A jacket left on a chair. A stack of newspapers that grew taller each week. Dishes that sat in the sink long enough that I stopped noticing them. Drawers I couldn't close properly because I kept shoving things in without looking. My sons noticed. David called from Portland one Sunday and carefully asked if I'd thought about hiring someone to help around the house. Michael, my younger one in Chicago, sent me a link to a cleaning service with a note that said, "No pressure, Dad, just in case." They were worried. I could hear it in the pauses between their words. And honestly, they had every reason to be. The house wasn't filthy. It was heavy. Every room felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for someone to come in and bring order back. But I didn't have the energy. Some days just making breakfast felt like enough. Then I met Noriko. She was 79 years old, Japanese American, a retired school teacher who had moved into the house next door after her husband passed. We'd waved politely across our driveways for nearly 3 months before she invited me over for tea one October afternoon. I said yes, mostly because I didn't have a good excuse to say no. What I found inside her small home changed me. Not in some dramatic overnight transformation. Slowly, gently, the way she seemed to do everything. Over several weeks of quiet visits and cups of green tea, I watched her live. And in watching her live, I learned 7 habits that brought my own home, and honestly my own mind, back from the fog. I want to share those 7 habits with you today. Not because they're complicated or require strength or money or any special equipment, but because they're the quietest, most powerful things I've ever learned about keeping a home peaceful when you're older, when you're tired, and when life has knocked the wind out of you. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by the mess in your home but too exhausted to fix it, if you've ever thought that keeping a tidy house requires more energy than you have left, then stay with me. Because Noriko taught me that peace in a home doesn't come from big cleaning days. It comes from something much smaller than that. Have you ever felt like your home was weighing you down instead of holding you up? Tell me about it in the comments. I promise you, whatever you're feeling, I've been there too. Habit 1. Every item has a home. The first thing I noticed when I stepped into Noriko's house was the silence. Not just the absence of noise, but the absence of visual noise. Nothing was out of place. Her reading glasses sat in a small ceramic dish on the side table. The remote control rested in the same spot on the coffee table every single time I visited. Her slippers were always pointing toward the door, lined up like 2 old friends waiting patiently. I asked her how much time she spent organizing each day. She smiled in that quiet way of hers and said, "I don't organize, Arthur. I just bring things back to where they live." It sounded too simple to be useful. But then I thought about my own house, where the remote control could be on the couch, in the kitchen, on the bathroom counter, or wedged between couch cushions. Where my reading glasses had 3 unofficial locations and 1 official one that I never used. Where I once spent 40 minutes searching for a medical form that turned out to be inside a magazine I'd stacked on top of 3 other magazines on a chair that was supposed to be for sitting. Noriko explained that in her home, every single item had a designated place. Not a general area, a specific spot. The scissors lived in the second kitchen drawer, left side. The flashlight lived on the shelf by the back door. Her address book sat in the same corner of the same desk every single day. She said, "Things are like us, Arthur. They need somewhere to belong. When they wander, the whole house feels restless." I went home that evening and did one thing. I chose a spot for the remote control, the small table next to my armchair, and I committed to returning it there every single time. Just that, nothing else. Within 3 days, I noticed my living room felt different. Not cleaner exactly, but calmer. One small anchor of order in a sea of gentle chaos. I've since given a home to my keys, my glasses, my wallet, my phone, and my morning medications. 5 items, 5 designated spots, and I haven't lost any of them in months. The searching has stopped, and with it, a frustration I didn't even realize I'd been carrying. What item do you lose most often in your home? Tell me in the comments. I'd bet anything it doesn't have a designated spot. Habit 2. If it takes less than a minute, do it now. During one of our afternoon teas, I watched Noriko do something small that stuck with me for days. She poured tea, and a single drop landed on the table. Before she even sat down, she picked up a cloth and wiped it away. One motion, 2 seconds, done. I asked why she didn't just wait and clean everything at once later. She looked at me as if the question genuinely puzzled her. Why would I let it wait? It takes only a moment now. If I wait, it becomes a task, and tasks become a list, and a list becomes a weight I carry around in my head all day. I knew exactly what she meant. I had been living under that invisible weight for years without naming it. A dirty cup I'd wash later. A crumb I'd sweep tomorrow. A piece of junk mail I'd deal with eventually. None of these things were urgent, but together they formed a quiet pressure that sat on my chest like a cat that refused to move. Noriko's rule was beautifully simple. If something takes less than a minute, you do it immediately. Wipe the spill, hang up the coat, put the dish in the sink, throw away the wrapper. Don't negotiate with it. Don't schedule it. Don't add it to a mental list. Just do it and let it go. I started practicing this at home, and the effect was almost embarrassing. My kitchen stayed cleaner without me ever officially cleaning it. My bathroom counter stopped accumulating random objects. The mail got sorted the moment it came through the door instead of growing into a paper mountain on the dining table. But the real change was in my head. I started going to bed without that nagging feeling that I'd left things undone. My mind was quieter at night, and I slept better than I had in months. How many 1-minute tasks are sitting around your home right now, pretending they'll take care of themselves? Be honest in the comments. Habit 3. Keep less, choose wisely. Noriko's kitchen stopped me in my tracks the first time I really looked at it. 1 pot, 1 pan, 2 bowls, 2 cups, a single sharp knife and a wooden cutting board. The counters were almost completely bare. The cupboards, when she opened them, had space between things. Actual visible space. I thought about my own kitchen, where 3 junk drawers competed for the title of most chaotic. Where I owned a juicer I'd used twice, a bread maker I'd used once, and enough mismatched Tupperware containers to build a small fortress. I asked Noriko if she ever felt like she didn't have enough. She shook her head. I used to have more. After my husband passed, I kept everything because I was afraid. Afraid of needing something and not having it. But then I realized all those extra things weren't making me feel safe. They were making me feel crowded. So I started choosing, and I only chose what I actually use. This hit me harder than I expected, because I'd been doing the exact same thing. Holding on to Margaret's bread maker because she'd loved it, even though I'd never baked bread. Keeping a set of dishes her sister had given us, even though I didn't like them and never used them. Storing things out of guilt, not out of need. Noriko taught me a question that changed my relationship with possessions. Does this item serve my life today, or am I keeping it to serve a feeling from the past? I went home and opened one cabinet, just one. I pulled out everything and asked that question about each item. The pasta machine Margaret used once in 2011. The fondue set from a party in 2003. A stack of plastic containers with no matching lids. None of them serve my life today. I donated them the following morning. The cabinet had space for the first time in years, and opening it felt like taking a deep breath after being underwater. What are you keeping out of guilt rather than genuine need? You can tell me in the comments. No judgment here, because I was doing the same thing until very recently. Habit 4. 5 minutes of tidying before bed. I was about to leave Noriko's home one evening when she asked me to wait a moment. I watched her move through her kitchen with the calm efficiency of someone performing a ritual she'd done 10,000 times. She placed the tea tray back in the cupboard, washed our 2 cups, dried them, set them on the rack, wiped the table, and straightened a chair. The whole thing took maybe 4 minutes. When she finished, she stood still for a moment and looked around. Then she said, "Now my day is done." I asked if she did this every night. She nodded. I don't wait for the house to become dirty. I just say a small goodbye to today so tomorrow can start fresh. I went home and looked at my kitchen. Last night's dishes in the sink. Crumbs on the counter from this morning's toast. A towel crumpled on the chair. A glass with a ring of dried orange juice. My day hadn't ended cleanly, and the new day had inherited yesterday's mess. This had been happening for years. That night I tried Noriko's approach. Before bed I chose 3 small things. I washed the dishes, wiped the counter, and hung the towel properly. It took exactly 4 minutes. When I walked into the kitchen the next morning, something shifted inside me. The space was ready, clean, calm, waiting for my coffee. I didn't have to start the day by dealing with yesterday's neglect. And that feeling of walking into a fresh kitchen on a gray Tuesday morning, was worth far more than 4 minutes of effort. I've done it every night since. Some nights I do 3 things. Some nights I do 5. But I never skip it. Because Noriko was right. Those few minutes aren't really about cleaning. They're about closing one chapter gently, so the next one can begin without carrying the weight of the one before. Could you spare 5 minutes tonight before bed? Tell me in the comments what 3 small things you'd take care of. Habit 5. Give every space a single purpose. Over several visits, I noticed something about Noriko's home that I couldn't quite name at first. Then one afternoon it clicked. Every space did one thing. Her dining table was only for eating. No mail, no books, no laptop, no clutter of any kind. Her reading chair had a small side table with 1 book and a lamp. Nothing else. Her bedroom was for sleeping. No television, no stacks of magazines, no exercise equipment gathering dust in the corner. I mentioned this and she said something that lodged permanently in my brain. When a space tries to do too many things, it does nothing well. My eyes don't know where to rest. My body doesn't know what to do there. So I let each space have one clear voice. I thought about my own living room, where I ate dinner, watched television, read the newspaper, paid bills, took naps, and sometimes just sat feeling overwhelmed by all of it at once. The room was trying to be 5 rooms simultaneously, and it was failing at all of them. No wonder I couldn't relax in it. I started small. I cleared the dining table of everything except a small vase Margaret had loved, and committed to eating meals there instead of on the couch. The first dinner I ate at that table in months felt different. I tasted the food more. I ate slower. The meal felt like an event instead of just fuel between television shows. My reading chair got the same treatment. I removed the pile of unopened mail, the old newspaper sections, and the phone charger that had somehow migrated there. Now it's a chair with a lamp and whatever book I'm reading. When I sit there, I read. That's all. And my reading has become the most peaceful part of my day. Does your home have rooms that are trying to be everything at once? What space would you simplify first? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Habit 6. Prepare for tomorrow the night before. One evening, Noriko showed me something that seemed almost too basic to mention, but turned out to be quietly revolutionary. Before bed each night, she spent about 10 minutes preparing for the next morning. She set out her clothes for the following day, folded neatly on the chair. She placed a handkerchief and her house keys on top. She checked that the front and back doors were locked. She filled a glass of water and set it on her nightstand. She confirmed that her morning tea supplies were arranged and ready. I asked if that level of preparation was really necessary. She said mornings are when the mind is most fragile. Everything feels like a decision, and decisions use energy I don't have much of anymore. So I make my decisions the night before when I'm still calm. That sentence embarrassed me, because I knew exactly the mornings she was describing. Mornings where I stood in front of the closet for 10 minutes, unable to decide what to wear. Mornings where I couldn't find my wallet and tore through 3 rooms while my coffee went cold. Mornings where I felt behind before the day had even started. I began with one thing. Each night before bed, I set out tomorrow's clothes. Shirt, trousers, socks, all ready. The first morning I woke up to a prepared outfit, I felt an almost absurd sense of relief. One less decision. One less moment of confusion. One less reason to feel like I was losing my grip on things. I added more over the following weeks. Keys and wallet in their spot. Coffee supplies arranged. A glass of water on the nightstand. My morning pills counted out and ready. None of this takes more than 10 minutes. But those 10 minutes buy me something priceless. A gentle, unhurried morning. And at 68, gentle, unhurried mornings are worth their weight in gold. What small thing could you prepare tonight to make tomorrow easier? Share it in the comments and then actually go do it. Habit 7. Be grateful for every item that serves you. This last habit is the one I resisted the longest, and the one that ended up mattering the most. On my final visit before Noriko left to spend winter with her daughter in California, we shared one last cup of tea. When she finished, she washed her cup carefully, dried it with a soft cloth, and before placing it back on the shelf, she pressed her palms together and bowed her head slightly. I asked what she was doing. "Thanking the cup," she said, "for serving me today." I almost smiled. It seemed precious, maybe even a little strange. But her face was so sincere, so at peace, that the smile died before it reached my lips. She wasn't performing, she was living. She said, "I grew up with very little, Arthur. My mother taught me that every object carries someone's effort. Someone made this cup, someone shipped it, someone placed it on a shelf. It found its way to me. The least I can do is notice that." I went home that night and looked at my kitchen with different eyes. The coffee maker that brewed my morning cup without fail. The old wooden cutting board that Margaret had bought at a flea market our first year of marriage. The heavy ceramic bowl I ate oatmeal from every morning. I had never once thanked any of these things. I had never once even noticed them, not really. I felt something crack open inside me. Not grief this time, something softer. I picked up Margaret's cutting board and held it the way you hold something you've almost lost. I ran my thumb along the knife marks, years and years of dinners, of ordinary evenings, of a life lived together in a kitchen that smelled like garlic and warmth. "Thank you," I said out loud. To the cutting board, to Margaret, to a life I'd taken for granted until it was gone. This habit changed the way I see everything in my home. I stopped keeping things out of guilt and started keeping things out of genuine gratitude. The items that stayed earned their place because they served me and because I could honestly thank them for it. The items that didn't serve me, I released with a different kind of gratitude. Thank you for being part of my life. Someone else needs you now. My home got lighter, not because I threw everything away, but because everything that remained was there for a reason, and I knew what that reason was. What object in your home deserves a thank you that it's never received? Tell me in the comments. It might feel strange at first, but I promise you, saying it out loud changes something inside you. It's been 7 months since those quiet afternoons in Noriko's kitchen. She's back from California now, and we still share tea on Sunday afternoons. She says my home feels different. Lighter, she calls it. I think she's right. My house is the same small house it's always been. Same old carpet, same creaky stairs, same kitchen where Margaret used to hum while she cooked. But something in it has shifted. The fog is gone. The heaviness that pressed down on every room after Margaret died has slowly, quietly lifted. I didn't hire a cleaning service. I didn't buy new furniture or renovate, or follow some complicated system. I just started doing 7 small things, consistently, gently, one day at a time. David noticed on his last visit. He didn't say much because David never says much. But he sat at the dining table, looked around the kitchen and said, "Feels good in here, Dad." That was enough. Michael called last week and asked what I'd been doing differently. I told him about Noriko, about the habits, about the tea and the conversations and the quiet mornings that feel like mine again. He was silent for a moment and then said, "Mom would love this." And he was right. She would. Let me say the 7 habits one more time, because they're worth hearing again. 1. Give every item a home and bring it back there every time. 2. If it takes less than a minute, do it now. 3. Keep less but choose wisely. 4. Spend 5 quiet minutes tidying before bed. 5. Let every space have a single clear purpose. 6. Prepare for tomorrow the night before. 7. Be grateful for every item that walks through your life. None of these require strength. None require money. None require anyone's help. They only ask for something small. A willingness to pay attention to the ordinary things. To notice the cup, the chair, the counter. To care for your home the way it has always cared for you. My name is Arthur Bennett. I'm 68 years old and my home is finally breathing again. I hope yours will too. If this meant something to you, share it with someone who might need it. A parent, a neighbor, a friend who's been carrying a heavy home on tired shoulders. Subscribe if you'd like to walk this quiet path with me. And leave a comment to let me know you were here. Thank you for staying until the end. I'll see you in the next one.